Hi friends, David here from Above AVL, and today we want to look at, boom, the Yamaha DZR12-D from Yamaha, obviously. This is a speaker that packs some insane punch. And you might look at something like the DZR-D, look at it comparing to other speakers and be like, wow, that's pricey. But we're going to talk about, it's a stretch for a lot of our people at above AVL. I get that. However, in the right application, it pushes an immense amount of weight, sounds incredibly good, and has a host of features that can be really beneficial to you. Let's dive in. So first things first, we got to get it off the stand. I was just listening to it. So go ahead and pop power, pop audio. So first and foremost, this is not what would be considered a small lightweight speaker. For a 12-inch speaker, it's fairly heavy. Check the specs, or we can stick it on the screen. And it's definitely larger than other 12-inch speakers because it sounds real good. However, there's hanging points on the different sides. There's also, is there a top handle on this one? No, there's good side handles though. And as you saw on my stand there, you probably saw, it has a dual pole mount in the bottom, which is, on a speaker, anything mid-range and above, you're going to see this. And it's super beneficial when you're indoors because you're able to take that audio, point it at the audience, have the top of the speaker essentially pointing upwards, just a hair almost flat, which means you're throwing less sound into the ceiling. It's just going to make your life easier and better. Okay. So let's talk about the physical. This is a heavy duty speaker. So it's got a really nice cabinet, really nice finish on it. The front is a fabric fronted grill. But, honestly, like, I think if you're gigging, you probably would beat this up over time. If you're like a gigging band and you are beating on your stuff, but it does appear, I believe it's fabric with a metal right behind it. When I was covering all these different speakers together in a different video, I noted you might want to keep it in a case. I still kind of recommend that because you could beat this up, but honestly, it would probably deal with doing gigs pretty well as long as you're generally careful with it. Of course, keeping it in a road case would be the best option. Let's talk about the back. So obviously it's got, like a typical speaker, can be a main, can do the tilt down, has monitor wedge angles with a nice rubberized feet. So boom, can turn it into a monitor, no problem. And then on the back, dual pole mounts. And then on the back itself, we have for ourselves, the brains of this operation. So there's a couple things that are different on the DZR series from a lot of the others. First and foremost, has the locking power connector. That's always super nice. Makes me feel at peace. Not that, again, the amount of times I've had an IFC cable wiggle out of a light or a speaker are like once in the air. And so, like, as much as I harp on that because I really like locking power connectors, it's honestly not that big of a deal most of the time. We've got a fully digital and configurable brain on the back of these guys. It's not plugged in right now, but what you're going to find in the menu here are not only the standard Yamaha settings, which are going to be the D contour for front of house or main. You're going to have the crossover selectable where you want that crossover point to be. But this also has a EQ built into it, so you can do some EQ on the speaker, inside the speaker. It has a USB for saving and loading settings, and it has delay. Those are the main features there. I would also note that the horn 90 by 50. We'll double check that. If it's wrong, we'll put it on the screen. And it is rotatable, so you can rotate it if you're always using it for monitors, or most of the time you can rotate it if you're hanging it horizontally, etc. So in the brains, you've got a little bit more. You also have, this is the D version. So in the D version, you have Dante. The beautiful thing about this is that, if you don't know, if you're using a digital console, that means basically in a lot of systems, you go from a microphone, analog, through a speaker, or through a cable into your mixer. Converts to digital, right? After the mixer, a lot of the times, you're coming out, you're going to analog. So digital to analog, you're making a conversion again. You might go into a DSP, converting to digital, then going back out to analog before you go to your speakers, which most amplifiers these days are digital built into these speakers. The more times you convert analog to digital, two things happen. One, is you get little bits of delay every time you do it, and that can affect things in the end game, especially when different spaces or different parts of your system have different amounts of delay. That can become an issue. The bigger part is just that you lose a little signal quality because digital, no matter how good the quality is being sampled. Okay. And all your sample rates between your different devices are not going to match up perfectly. And so you end up essentially, losing some quality. And it's often tough to discern. But I've definitely heard systems where there was so much analog to digital going on, up and down and up and down and in and out, in and out, that it actually really did cause very audible issues. Being a Dante based speaker means boom, come out of your mixer. If it's got Dante, you know, go into either a switch or straight into your first speaker, boom, out to your next, out to your next, out to your next, set them all up. Now, all the way from when the microphone hits the mixer until it's coming out of the speakers, fully digital, never makes that conversion just once when it actually is being turned into sound on the speaker level. So not only can Dante make setup easier, as once you get to know it, it's like, hey, throw the speakers out, boom, discover them all, assign them, boom, you're off to the races. It's also gonna sound better because you're not doing the analog to digital roller coaster. Okay, but the most important part when we're evaluating any speaker is how does the thing sound? First and foremost, spec for spec, the DZR12 from Yamaha is impressive. So if you look at the specs, the max decibel level is 139 decibels, which for a 12-inch powered speaker is on the top end. That means this thing gets real loud, meaning you can cover larger spaces with less speakers. But not only does it get loud, it sounds really good. Like, I want to keep the speaker and hold on to it as my personal stereo, but we will list it on our site as a demo unit because it is just wow. Music that's punchy, like I was listening to some Motown and to some soul through it, is so punchy through every part of the speaker from the lowest frequencies all the way down below 100 hertz. So if you don't have subs, you still get a decent amount of bass. All not enough for like actual rock or EDM, but I mean for some rock band that might be fine. Honestly, you get a really decent amount of bass out of this guy, and as it goes through the mid range, the upper mid range, especially, you're getting up close to 1 kilohertz near the crossover point and all of that stuff, nothing ever sounds harsh. I push the speaker, I've listened to all sorts of genres of music, and I really can't get anything to sound harsh out of it, unlike other speakers. You move into the high driver, you're crossing over, and it goes very high, very clear, all the way to the top of the human hearing range. And again, no matter how hard you push it, it doesn't get harsh. The built-in decontour algorithms that Yamaha makes make it so that as you push it louder, the speaker's adjusting internally. And so you don't get a bunch of extra highs, you don't get harshness. It really all takes care of it. This is obviously in the Yamaha range, before you get up to Nexo, their other brand. This is the top of the line, and it shows because it sounds exceptionally good. The DZR or CZR, the passive version of it with DSP, it gets exceptionally loud, and it's just in my mind when I listen to it, it's like you hear an exceptional amount of depth to music because it's incredibly responsive to all the transients. It is, it just doesn't really get harsh. You hear everything. It's a real fantastic speaker. So who is it for? Well, if you look at the price tag of these things, you're like, okay, David, that's a pretty pricey speaker, right? You have to take into account that it does get very, very loud at 139 dB. That means you can cover larger rooms or outdoor spaces with two speakers instead of it being four or six. So take that into account. Not only does it sound fantastic, but you can cover more space, especially in a portable setup teardown. You're not going to have delays or anything. You can cover a lot. You have a lot of headroom. This thing's not going to run out in a lot of situations, and it sounds exceptional. So yes, it's a pretty high end speaker, but when you compare it to the other Yamaha speakers in the range, they all sound good. We really like all of them, even down to the DBR, which I've got sitting over there. The most budgety model. They all sound pretty good, but you definitely, if you appreciate great audio, it may be worth considering making your life easier when you're mixing. by getting a speaker that sounds so good out of the box, has so much depth, so much clarity. You can run at lower levels, hear everything really good, and just has a lot of steam in the sense that, you know, all the way up to the max SPL of 139 dB, you're rocking and rolling. This thing's not hitting the limit. It's just rocking, have a rock group and that drummer hits that snare hard, you're gonna hear that jump out of this speaker. You're gonna want to watch your compressors and limiters, because it'll jump out and it'll grab you and really give you an exceptional sonic experience. So not for everybody, but man, the Yamaha DZR series, specifically this one, the DZR12-D with Dante, is an awesome pick for a Dante enabled speaker with a really high output and also just an incredible, really well rounded, really balanced sound that just, if you want it to punch you in the gut, it will punch you in the gut with quality, with punch, with sound. If you don't, it still sounds amazing no matter what you throw at it. And so if you like this, head over to aboveavl.com. We've got these, we've got so much other stuff. And when you're looking to purchase, big tip here, fill out our quote request and request a quote. That's going to help us get you a personalized cost. We're going to look at, a number of factors that we've put together and give you a quote that helps you get that personalized price. Okay. So, you see the price tag, you're like, ooh, well, maybe if we bundle it with some other stuff, you never know what's going to happen, right? Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys over at Above AVL next time you need any audio gear or video or lighting, and we'll see you guys there. Thanks.